Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome into 104.3 The Fans Tea Time. We've got Rachel V. Hill, D-Mac. We've actually got a really fun show for everybody today as we have people joining from London as we get ready for Sunday's game. We've also got Cecil's Fantasy 5 at 10:55. Make sure you hang out and join us. Tell us how your Friday's going in the comments. But D-Mac, you're at Ball Arena. It sure looks nice down there.
Yeah, they're, early in the morning. They got the shoot around, which is in their practice court, which is inside of the building. But Nikola Jokic was down here putting up threes on the real court. He's been kind of struggling from three. So he was just getting some shots in for a while with some of the trainers and got a little bit of a revenge match against the Jazz, who beat the Nuggets in the first game of the season. So we get him back on our court and we'll see what's what. We'll talk to the guys around. Actually, as soon as tea time is over, they open things up for the media. So I'm down here to talk a little hoops today.
Nice. Okay, well, do you know what else has happened today, D-Mac?
What's that, Rachel?
There's a bunch, actually. Do you want to just take a guess at what your Twitter timeline's been happening?
Oh, you can lead me in any direction you want, but we've had plenty of action going on. So what do you want to get to, Rachel?
Well, first of all, we'll start with the biggest drama across the nation is that Tom Brady and Giselle have officially finalized their divorce. That went on, Tom Brady announcing it this morning. We'll also get to the fact that the Avs Cups are officially on this, or the Avs names are officially on the Stanley Cup. Forever awesome. In history. That looks so cool, so good. I can't imagine. I also didn't realize that the names didn't go on before the tour started. Like, I only learned that a couple of weeks ago.
I did not know that either. So, yeah, well, I guess that does make sense. Yeah. That you need some dedicated time with the Cup to do that. And the Cup goes on tour almost immediately. So, sure, I guess that makes sense.
It looks really good, though. Another one for all the guys on here, Modern Warfare 2 came out last night. So my boyfriend was ready to go at 10 o'clock last night, picking up his copy. It's a Friday, though. So, heck yeah, let's get into it. Also, we've got a very special friend who's hanging out in London where it's officially Friday evening. Our very own James Marilat joins us now. Where is he now? Let's find out. James, where are you? What's your background?
I am at Notting Hill. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Wow. It looks
okay.
beautiful.
All right. So, have you seen the movie Notting Hill?
Yes.
Okay, Rachel. Well, it's a
older
chick flick, so you got to go see it or you got to rent it. But there's a scene, and D-Mac, you've seen it, where like Hugh Grant's walking and the seasons change.
Yes.
Like all 4 seasons. That's the street right behind me. So here we are.
That's awesome. Hugh Grant, Rachel, used to be a famous actor who got caught with a prostitute famously.
And, he did.
Yeah.
Now
that's what he's best known for. 4 weddings and a funeral, Notting Hill, and prostitute.
Yeah, Divine Brown.
There you go. James with the details.
So the reason I'm here, though, is Abbey Road, where they shot the cover of the Beatles album, is about 3 blocks away. So we rode the tube up here to go get that shot. Happened to stumble into this, and I'm like, okay, that's the location for today's show. So here we go.
That's great. You sound great.
I'm now extremely jealous that I'm not in London. Has it been everything you kind of imagined? Is this your first time in London?
First time. Yeah, first time anywhere in Europe. It's been awesome. So I would describe London as San Francisco without any hills. It's just, it's a huge metropolis, but it's not like New York where everything's high rises, right? Like most things are, 3 to 5 to 6 stories, somewhere in there. All these cool little neighborhoods, and you just bounce around and find different pubs and different restaurants and all those kind of things. So going to the theater district tonight to see Back to the Future, look for Justin Alton. So it should be fun.
Yeah, speaking of Justin Alton, well, actually, let's go to Justin Tucker real quick. Really throwing a dagger at Russell Wilson on the plane, saying that the Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson was going to be doing high knees with the team. James, what's the vibe? Has this truly been an escape for the Broncos?
Yeah, I wrote about it today at denverfan.com, and it just sort of hit me. And it might have been, it was after I was on with D-Mac and Derek yesterday, and then I've been with a lot of the people that are with the team, and just kind of getting the sense of, like, I feel like the pressure valve has been released. Like, it started snowballing when it didn't go well in Seattle, and it just got worse and worse and worse and worse, and they didn't have a way to just stop it. And you wake up every day and you read the paper, you turn on the radio, you open Twitter, whatever, and you hear how awful you are. You turn on the TV here and you're watching like some random thing out in the English countryside. Like, you can't listen to Stephen A. Smith yelling about how you're an inept coach. It's not on. And I do think that has been a nice escape for the team. They just look like and sound like a group that kind of got a chance to call timeout and take a breath. So, look, we'll see on Sunday if that turns into better results. But I expect them to be better on Sunday. And I do think if they win on Sunday, then you can kind of, get the snowball going the other direction. That's hard to do without doing something dramatic. And I think coming all the way over here, 4,500 miles away, might have been just what the doctor ordered.
Yeah, they've been mocked now globally, and you're only suspect to damage based on what you consume. So if you don't consume it, it's not going to damage you. Okay, I can vibe with you a little bit that they're getting away. I mean, they still have their phones, though, right? I mean, they still have communication from their friends and relatives, right?
They do, but I'll tell you, being over here, the 7-hour time change screws up all of that, right? Like, you don't know when to check Twitter. I watched my son's football game last night till 3:30 in the morning. Like, everything's just off. So, like, when I check Twitter here, nothing's going on because everybody back home's asleep. So it just makes it where it's like it's a little different and a little bit off, and it is kind of you almost are forced to unplug a bit from what's going on back in Denver because it feels like, I mean, you're 7 time zones away, you're a third of the way around the world essentially. It does feel like you're on the other side of the moon to some extent.
James, how's the jet lag?
It was not bad at all. Now, we had the red eye, so if you sleep a little bit on the plane, like we landed 12:30 in the afternoon, just stay up the rest of the day, go to bed. Knock on wood, haven't felt it a bit. It's been great. Now, the 3:30 in the morning watching my son play football, that got me a little bit, and I got another one tonight. But no, it hasn't been bad at all.
Well, let me ask you a question because you've been there kind of almost the same amount of time as the Broncos. Mm-hmm. The Jaguars just left yesterday to get there, so they're probably sleeping right now or just getting up, that sort of thing. Do you feel like there's too much time there in England? And should we think, well, why are the Jaguars, who are the most experienced team doing this England trip, leaving so many days, 3 days later than the Broncos?
Yeah. You know what, though? I feel better with each passing day, D-Mac. Like, just more like, okay, this is my time zone. So I think it's probably better. I mean, I'm more ready to play a football game today than I was Tuesday, for sure. So, save for all the pub hopping I've been doing, I'm ready to go. So I don't think it'll hurt the Broncos. Honestly, maybe by one day. Like, tomorrow feels like it should be game day.
Yeah.
Right? You kind of get that sense like, okay, we've been here a while. Let's go. I'm sure they're having that. It's a couple days away, so maybe they'll join me at a soccer game tomorrow. It'll be a lot of fun.
Oh, fun. Okay. So James, if you're going to throw punches, you have to be able to take punches, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to throw a punch at you real quick because you got mad at Russell Wilson for wearing headphones and sunglasses as he walked into the practice field. Well, when we had you do your challenge, you're wearing sunglasses and headphones. So do you have an excuse for yourself?
I do. I didn't have to take those off to then go do what I was on my way to do. I kept them on.
So you continued wearing sunglasses and headphones.
Right. I didn't put on a helmet and go do my next activity. So that would be one. 2, there's not, and maybe you guys can correct me, I don't know that I'm under, a lot of pressure here for being unrelatable. So, I don't think that was an issue. And I posted it myself. That wasn't the organization posting it and just putting me out there once again as, the guy who just doesn't get it. So it was pretty funny. I got to admit it. I got a lot of grief on Twitter for that. I'm like, it is headphones and sunglasses. It's a fair point, but it's apples and oranges. But hey, I can take it.
Okay. So you also said that you've been hanging out with some members of the team. Have you feel like for the people that are involved that this, I know we kind of talked about for maybe the team actually being a breakaway, but do you feel like for the other members too, that this is kind of just okay, like let's settle down. Let's get back into this routine.
Yeah, because I think everybody went into it so excited and with such high expectations. And here we are a month and a half later, and it's like, oh my God, it is derailed to a degree that I don't think anybody could have imagined. Yeah. And I do think there was a little bit of just looking around going, how in the heck did we end up here? How are we in this spot? And so it is a little bit of a break for everyone involved to just go, okay, reset button. Because when you're in it every single day and you're dealing with it every single day, it seems worse and worse and worse and worse. So this is a little bit of a way for all of them to get some perspective and kind of take the big picture view. So I definitely have felt that from everybody. You know, they were all out at the Harrow School today doing the Play 60 thing. They went yesterday to a food bank here in London and doing those kind of things. So I think just kind of a break from the normal routine, a break from dealing with all of us, to be honest with you, I think has been kind of nice.
Okay, boy, we are scratching at intangibles here because
I know.
You know, when you're not on the road, James, and you're just back here, it's just a regular week, okay? So I'm trying to figure out from a regular week perspective how exactly this team has gotten better this week and why I should expect more from this team this week against the Jaguars. And I'm looking at the Jaguars as a pretty darn good team.
Well, I mean, they're 2-5 as well. I think the Broncos are better this week because Russell Wilson is healthier. Certainly healthier than he was last week when he couldn't play, so that's a step in the right direction. You would think, since he wasn't able to play last week, that he must have got injured at the end of the Chargers game, so he's probably healthier than he was late in that game, certainly in overtime. So I think that helps, but am I searching for intangibles, C-Mac? 100% I'm searching for intangibles. Because I don't know that there's a lot of X's and O's reasons really with either team. I mean, the Jags started off pretty well, and we're kind of at one of those, hey, maybe they're going to win the NFC South or AFC South, and now here they are. They're behind the Colts. They're behind the Titans. They're back in their normal spot, competing with the Texans at the bottom of that division. So it's an eminently winnable game, and I think if you win it, it doesn't save the season at all. They still got a lot of work to do to get out of this hole, but it prevents it from being over. If you lose on Sunday, it's over, and then at that point, you really do have to work, if you're George Payton, to try to keep it together and not have to fire Nathaniel Hackett or assistant coaches or trade away players. Like, at some point, there becomes no reason to keep it together. If you win, at least you can make the argument that, okay, we're going to turn it around.
All right, James. Well, we appreciate you hanging out with us. Have fun. I'm so jealous. It looks beautiful out there.
Did you like George Payton's defense of Nathaniel Hackett yesterday?
I did. Now, I don't necessarily buy it that it's the most scrutiny of all time. And I mentioned this in my column. I was here in Denver in 1983 when John Elway was a rookie. That was the most scrutiny I've ever seen. But has it been a brighter spotlight and a more intense microscope than other first-year head coaches because of all the national TV games? Yeah, but he also turned up the intensity on all of that with some of his decisions. So I liked it. I bought it. I actually think he does want to, barring a disaster on Sunday, right, where it's another 9-point game and 4 bad decisions. Barring a disaster, I really do think he wants to stay the course. So I bought that he believes it. I don't necessarily believe all of it.
It'll be interesting come Sunday. All right, James.
All right, and then
thank you so much.
Real quick, my buddy Bobby has to help me with all this stuff, and I never give him a shout out, so I had to give him a shout out. He's over here, manning the cameras and stuff.
Bobby's the real MVP. We appreciate him. All right, James, thank you so much. Have fun. All right, we're bringing in another member who is in London, and we have Ashlyn Sullivan joining us, who's the Jaguars team reporter. Ashlyn, how are you? How is your jet lag going?
It's going good. I apologize. My backdrop is not near as pretty as James's is. This is a hotel conference room, so this is the best we can do here in London. It's going good. So the Jaguars landed in London about 7 a.m. this morning, and we were at the hotel all morning. Went to practice at 2 o'clock, and we've been told the goal now is to stay up as late as you possibly can today. Go to bed at a normal time, London time, and then the goal is tomorrow morning you wake up and you're on London time and you're feeling good. So I'm not gonna lie, we're all a little sleepy at this point, but to be expected.
And Ashlyn, how many times have you been to London now? Because you've been with the team for quite a few years.
Yes, so this is my 6th season with the Jaguars, and this is my 5th trip to London. Wow. So yes, they have a system. In my 6 years, the Jaguars have not changed how they do this London trip. They've been very successful in London, so they believe they have a system down pat that works for them. It might not work for every team, and I know teams definitely do it differently, like the Broncos coming here on Monday, but they have found what works for them here.
Why do you think it works for them? Because it is radically different than the Broncos.
Oh, it is. It's fascinating how two teams are going to this game and so differently, how they're preparing so differently. I think it's fascinating. And whatever the outcome is, I think then the league gravitates towards that. If the Broncos win on Sunday, now I think you'll see more teams come out here on Monday because, hey, it worked for the Broncos, vice versa for the Jaguars. For the Jaguars, they believe they get more done in Jacksonville, and they believe they want to have 3 really solid work days in Jacksonville, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. They also believe in no distractions. Hey, you come here and it is a work trip. You have a couple hours off tonight. You have a couple hours off tomorrow. Go see the landmarks you want to see, but come back for meetings. It's time to work. It's worked for them. Not to say it would work for every single team, but they have a great success here in London. And especially Coach Peterson, he believes, this is a business trip first.
Okay, so the Broncos, they did like a Play 60 event today. They've been at the food bank. The Jaguars aren't doing anything like that. This is strictly just, we're coming here to play a game.
So they had a practice today that was open to fans, which is different. There were fans out at practice. There was some rah-rah, more than a normal practice. They'll have a couple players go to a sponsorship event tomorrow and sign some autographs. But yeah, that's it. And maybe it's because the Jaguars have now been here for so many years. My first time covering the team, there were a lot of events, and it was a lot of pep rallies. And look at the Jaguars in London. Truthfully, it's almost like the Jaguars are old news now. They've been here so much that it's almost like you don't need to do all these pep rallies because London fans know they're here every single year.
Well, but are London fans Jaguars fans?
Oh, yeah. I see it's shifted now the past 6 years since I've been covering the team. The first year I came here, there were Jaguar jerseys everywhere. I mean, it was the entire stadium were Jaguars jerseys. And now I think as you've seen the league grow more in the UK, now on Sunday, you'll see there's jerseys of every single team and every single player. And it's very much more well-rounded. But I think the Jaguars always being the first team to play here, London has a kind of a special place for Jacksonville here.
Okay, so it'll be interesting to see if it's kind of an away game for the Broncos come Sunday then. Ashlyn, I want to talk to you about Trevor Lawrence because he's just gone through it. UK was so highly respected coming out. He's gone through it, but it just seems like that respect has stayed consistent and his confidence has continued to grow. So how have you seen in the time that you've been covering his confidence grow to where he is now?
Oh, yeah. Just like you said, I think his teammates see what he went through last season and how he took the bullet. I mean, he was the guy every single Wednesday, the press conference, and having to answer the questions of what was going on in the building. And he's a rookie, 22 years old, doing that. So his teammates, great respect for Trevor Lawrence and how he handled himself last year. And that's kind of just Trevor as a person. Truthfully, he's just a very normal guy who happens to be incredibly gifted at football. He carries himself very calmly, and you see Coach Peterson and Trevor have a very similar personality. They're never too high and they're never too low, no matter what. They're so even keel. So with Trevor, you're definitely seeing the confidence growing. But even if Trevor goes and is every single week these insane stats and the Jaguars are on a winning streak, I still don't think you're going to see Trevor act any differently.
You seem to have a dysfunctional team personality. You shut out the Colts. You get beat by the Colts. You rush the Chargers. You get shut down by the Texans. I don't understand what this team is. Do you?
No, we always talk about that. We can't figure out what Jaguars team is going to show up. I mean, week 3 in Los Angeles, it was the highest of highs. That, not being able to believe, oh my gosh, you just beat the Los Angeles Chargers, who were playoff favorites at that point. And then against the Texans, especially at home, when that was a game you had to win in front of your home crowd. It's been so up and down, and everyone says that's a young team. That's a young roster trying to figure themselves out. But yeah, you'd love to see some more consistency, and I don't think they're there yet. I think they have to stack it a couple weeks in a row. For example, now we're at the point where the offense plays well and the defense doesn't show up, and then it's vice versa every week. And yeah, it's definitely exhausting, but I think it's to be expected with a young roster.
We felt that way a little bit here in Denver at the beginning of the season. Obviously, the past couple of weeks, it's just been all the defense. The offense can't get anything together. But at the beginning of the season, it was kind of like it was flip-flopping where the defense would really show up. Then we saw one game when the offense showed up and then the defense didn't do as well. For you, what's the strongest point of this Jaguars team? What should make Broncos fans nervous about this team?
This offense is starting to believe in themselves. They're coming now back-to-back weeks where they are driving down the field. They are scoring points. They're being efficient in the red zone. This is the best I've seen this offense move the past 2 years. I mean, when they get the ball, when Trevor gets the ball, I can see the confidence building that he's going to go score. I couldn't say that week 1 of this season. So the defense right now, if you would have asked me 3 weeks ago, I would have said this defense is the high point of this tee. They're getting takeaways, they're getting sacks, they're flying around. Now it's the offense. And I think if the Jaguars offense has another good week, man, they're really going to start believing in themselves. So it's fascinating.
At what point of the year last year was it obvious Urban Meyer should be fired?
Gosh, I think if you ask, everyone's going to have a different opinion. I think just you could tell he was kind of losing the locker room at some point. Oh, sorry. FaceTime decline on a computer. Sorry.
It's all right.
I think everyone's going to have a different answer for that. For example, Marvin Jones was on a podcast and he said week 2 of training camp. I didn't see it that soon, but players are going to think differently. They're much closer to the situation. You could tell about halfway through the season that this wasn't going to work out, and that's now. And I asked Doug Peterson.
I asked that because here in Denver, we're asking that question, and we know it took till week 14 for Urban to get zapped, but we're wondering now. So because things have turned. You know what's funny? You're not as bad as your record indicates. I've been telling people that. I think the Jaguars are a better team than the Jets, and they have the exact opposite records.
Right.
And I think Peterson will get it together with Lawrence, and that will happen. And anybody who doesn't think Trevor Lawrence is going to be a great quarterback, I don't know what you're smoking. I mean, there's every indication that is going to happen. Whereas in Denver, every indication is that it's leaning towards Russell Wilson is on the decline. So It is curious to see a little bit of struggles. But this is what makes me nervous about this particular game. How do we know that this isn't where it really clicks for the Jaguars?
Yeah, and it's so funny. They're saying the exact same things about the Broncos. They're saying the exact same things about Russell Wilson. I was just in a production meeting, and they were talking about Russell Wilson. And they were asking, what's going on? Why is Russell Wilson not Russell Wilson? And Trevor answered, he's always going to be Russell Wilson, because the minute you think he isn't, he will make you look silly. These guys have a great respect for that quarterback, and they're not going to take it lightly the way he's been playing lately. They have a great appreciation for what he's known for in the league. So it's funny. It's vice versa of what the team's messages are.
Interesting.
Sorry about that. I had to make a last second pivot. I was out on the ball arena, and the players started coming out for the shoot around that I'm not supposed to be at quite yet. It was fine when nobody was there. But it is amazing in a 20,000 seat arena when you're the only one talking how loud that actually is. So
it's jarring. I agree.
For sure. Ashlyn, last question from us. Was anybody doing any sort of stretching high knees, anything on the plane?
No, my gosh. That's so silly. Like, why does something have to be such a big storyline? Like, okay, we said it. Great. We're moving on. Yeah, no, the guys, I think Russell Wilson, I could tell he was joking, and now you see it on every single social media platform. So yeah, truthfully, when you guys get this, when you cover this team so closely, when you're in the media, you're like, all right, like, give it a rest. Like, yes, we said the joke. Let's move on. Let's move to a bigger storyline, perhaps.
Well, hopefully there's some big ones coming on Sunday. We look forward to an incredible game. Ashlyn, thank you so much for taking some time to hop on with us. We really appreciate it.
You got it. No problem.
All right, everybody, it's time for Cecil's Fantasy 5 at 10:55. Let's hit it.
High five! Who do you start? Who do you sit? Any sleepers? Here's Cecil Lammey with this week's 5 fantasy tips.
Cecil, good morning. How are you?
What's up?
I don't think I've ever seen you in a button-up shirt.
Really? I've worn like suit jackets on this show, but usually I do that with like some sort of kitschy t-shirt.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So I'm that guy. I'm the old guy who wears like t-shirts of his car. When I had a bunch of Shelby gear, and I still do, and then I just realized one day I was like, oh my God, I'm the old guy that wears all the stuff of his car.
Nah. Trust me, it's very trendy if you wear a graphic tee and a blazer. You're just in trend, my friend. All right, you ready to do the Cecil Fantasy 5?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, number 1, without Chase. What do you mean by this?
So sad that Jamar Chase is down with a hip injury. This is very sad for Cincinnati Bengals fans, for fantasy GMs, because Jamar Chase is the best receiver in the league, whatever. And he's going to be gone a month, maybe 6 weeks. So you're going to see some changes there. And fantasy GMs are scrambling right now. So what you're doing essentially, if you're Cincinnati, is you're going to feature Tyler Boyd more. You're going to feature T. Higgins more. And maybe there's a possibility that Hayden Hurst gets used a little bit more at the tight end position, a very talented former first rounder, super athletic tight end who hasn't really played up to his potential yet, and certainly not with Cincinnati. He's also been a little bit banged up. So maybe as he gets healthier without Chase, the Bengals sort of shift and they shift to these other players. There's also a possibility that they go to Joe Mixon more. They lean on the rushing attack more. That means Samaje Perine as a backup would get some more work there as well. And Perine, even though he's a big back, and Rachel, I love big backs and I cannot lie, you have a situation where Samaje Perine is good as a receiver out of the backfield. So you have different options. We don't quite yet know how the Bengals offense is going to look without Jamar Chase. It's Joe Burrow's favorite target. It's his college teammate. So now is it more Mixon in the ground game? Is it more of these other guys? Who knows? All I know is it's a great offense, and I want my chips on that. So if I could grab a Tyler Boyd, if I could get a Samaje Perine, these players that would be available because T. Higgins, Joe Mixon are obviously gone. If I could grab these guys, I do it, and then I wait and see what the Bengals look like coming up on Monday night in the Battle of Ohio.
Okay. All right. Number 2. Tony has done it again.
Yeah. You probably don't know that song. Yeah, you probably don't know that song. I mean, it's by Tony Tone. And the song is Tony has done it again. It's from the 80s. So yes, Rachel, more old stuff. Listen to it. It's actually it's a bop, as the kids say today. But every time I try to say like new stuff, then my daughters, who are 19 and 16 respectively, they're like, don't say that, Dad. I'm like, quit capping. Anyway, Tony has done it again because Kadarius Toney is a first-round pick who got traded to the Chiefs. The Chiefs have another weapon. And a few weeks ago, I said there's no FOMO with the Chiefs offense because they just spread it around. Now everybody's getting it. McCole Hardman had 3 touchdowns, and I'm always like, stop trying to make McCole Hardman a thing. They gave him 3 touchdowns. Like, it's a situation where Marcus Valdes-Scantling, Juju Smith-Schuster, now Kadarius Toney in there. Isaiah Pacheco is their starting running back. Hey, everybody. But okay, so Kadarius Toney washed out with the Giants, and he was a first-round pick only 2 years ago. So teams are just moving on. There's no more give him a break. He's a first rounder. He'll get it. Nah, if you don't adapt to a new system and a new coaching staff, they just get rid of you. Guys like Kenny Golladay didn't fit with Brian Daboll. Guys like Kadarius Toney didn't fit with Brian Daboll. Toney's already dealt. Golladay might be dealt, unless he already has been, Rachel. I just basically woke up to do the show. But anyway, you look at the situation and go, the Chiefs got another weapon. And Kadarius Toney's available in 80% of leagues because he wasn't playing. He hasn't played since week 2. With a hamstring injury. I bet he gets real healthy now that he's with the Chiefs. So pick him up. And again, high-powered offense. I want that poker chip that I can place down if I need to.
Okay, number 3 coming in. Pounce on Pollard.
Yes, pounce. I'm getting a lot of questions about Tony Pollard this week because Ezekiel Elliott is down with an MCL sprain. And people are just like, what do I do? Start him. You have a borderline top 5 back. Calling him top 10 is an insult. Tony Pollard has always been the Cowboys' best back, and he's been that for 2 years. It's just that Jerry loves Ezekiel Elliott, and Jerry paid Ezekiel Elliott. So guess who got the ball? Ezekiel Elliott. Tony Pollard's always been better. He's a better runner. He's a better receiver. He's faster. He's more electric. This is perfect. And you want to see Dak Prescott look a little bit better because he was a little off last week. He didn't quite look like Dak was back, but he's a little off. First game back, whatever. Well, now you can look at it and go, okay, you have a more explosive running back. Your receivers are getting healthier. And of course you have CeeDee Lamb, but okay, Tony Pollard, there is no question. I mean, outside of a very few handful of running backs, you're starting Tony Pollard. Most every question I've gotten this week about Tony Pollard, Adama Cook, Pollard. It's just Pollard. The answer is Tony Pollard. So pounce if you got him. And this is why you need handcuffs, and this is why you need those reserve players, or you do what I call jock blocking. Somebody gets Ezekiel. Oh, man, I missed out Ezekiel Elliott. 10th round, I'm getting Tony Pollard because he's better anyway. So you either had the handcuff or you jock blocked the Zeke owner. Either way, you're starting Tony Pollard this week.
Okay, all right, I like it. Hot hand, cold shower.
Yeah, hot hand, cold shower, because the hot hand approach is in place in New York with the Jets. James Robinson is a really good back and a really good young man. Like I appreciate the struggles that he's gone through and coming back, battling through injuries, coming into the league. Basically, everyone ignored him coming into the NFL. Saw him down at the Shrine game. So there's your bingo card. And James Robinson always looked like one of those guys that could play at a high level. And he's come into the league, been a 1,000-yard rusher. Like he's just been so consistent. And now his first week with the Jets, they're saying, it's going to be hot hand. Okay, right. I get it. Nobody likes that. Fantasy GMs hate that. And Michael Carter's good as well. Carter's a smaller back, an explosive back. He's actually really good after contact. College teammates with Javonte Williams. And when they were both with the Tar Heels, I mean, both of those guys were great after contact. Both Javonte, who's huge, and Michael Carter, who's a little guy. But you don't really get a straight-on shot at that guy. So Carter and Robinson are going to be in a hot hand approach. It complicates things for fantasy. But either way, both of them are worth starting as flex plays every week until we see something change, or maybe Robinson emerges as the primary guy. But early on, it's going to be the hot hand approach.
I still can't believe we're talking about New York like this. All right, number 5 coming in for the Foreman.
Yeah, Dante Foreman. Who knew that without Christian McCaffrey, the Panthers would be good? What? Like, huh? Okay. And Chuba Hubbard, and I so wish it was Chuba Hubbard, but Chuba Hubbard is banged up, and he was banged up in the last game. Dante Foreman came in, and both Hubbard and Foreman were really good. So Foreman is the player that most people are pouncing on the waiver wire. Some people are getting Hubbard as well. But either way, it's Hubbard who's banged up. I'll look at his practice status today, but he may not play this week. That means it's all Dante Foreman. And we saw it with Dante Foreman last year, where some people would clown on him. This is what I hate. This is where I sound like a snob, Rachel, because I hate like fantasy analysts who are like, who is this Dante Foreman guy? He's not good. Like, if you knew his game from college, you know the guy's good. You know, and he's been in the league. Like, you know, his game is good. There is no doubt. It isn't just like, who's the backup? Fantasy analysis should not be as simple as like, just get the backup. No, get the good backup. Dante Foreman is the good backup, who's now the starter and perhaps the feature back, depending on the injury status of Chuba Hubbard.
Okay, well, Hubbard is out. Jake just said ruled as of today. Okay. Also, MRI does confirm Shaq Barrett has torn his Achilles. That's such a bummer for my Ramley. That one hurts to see. Ugh, bummer. Yeah,
love Shaq Barrett and love his path and his journey to the NFL, because he was a bad body prospect. Yeah. People say, why'd he go undrafted? It's because he didn't take the pre-draft serious. Yeah. Like why do these guys train all the time and they're training and getting ready for the combine? Yeah, because if scouts peg you as a bad body, then you're not going to get drafted. Shaq's turned it all around.
True. All right, well, Cecil's Fantasy 5 at 10:55, presented by Hooters. Hit the close. Let's go.
High five. Who do you start? Who do you sit? Any sleepers? Here's Cecil Lammy with this week's 5 fantasy tips.
So apparently DMAC wanted to keep partying with us. DMAC, where did you find yourself now?
Dude, I am in the club section. I'm next to a picture of Bono. I don't know if you can see. That's Bono over there.
I'm just thrilled right now.
I'm like, this is where all the rich people apparently, hang out and watch the Nuggets and the Avalanche guys. Just
hang out at Ball Arena. Okay,
he's living the life.
Yeah, no kidding. He's the cool kid now, apparently. Let's both, you and I, or all three of us, I guess, let's talk about Bradley Chubb. He did say today, when asked by the media in London, that he wants to stay a Bronco 100%, but that's between his agent and George Payton, whatever they decide to do. I'm focused on winning games. Cecil, we haven't heard your opinion. How likely is it that Bradley Chubb is no longer a Bronco come Monday or Tuesday next week?
I think it's pretty likely he gets traded because, and I don't think it should matter if they win or lose against Jacksonville. Like, you need assets for next year. Now, 2024, you're fine. You have all your picks. You have your full breadth of picks in 2024. But next year, you need picks. So Bradley Chubb, and we see what Robert Quinn gets traded for. We've seen these other teams in go-for-it mode. I kind of love this at the trade deadline. You have even the Jets, right? We just talked about James Robinson. Even the Jets are like, lost Breece Hall, go get it back. Like, so teams are in go-for-it mode if they're in that window. Bradley Chubb can help out a team. So he really wants to be a Bronco. If that's the case, take a hometown deal now. If not, then I'm sorry, they can't. Maybe tag and trade next year.
Franchise tag. That's what I've been saying. Franchise tag him. I don't know who else you're going to.
There is zero chance this guy still wants to be a Bronco. Yeah. I mean, zero. You're a 5th overall guy. You've had to be compared to Josh Allen, the quarterback, for 5 years. What a drag that is. Your team's done nothing but lose. You just saw your pal Von Miller go and win a Super Bowl being dealt at this same time last year. The team insults you by dragging their heels on a new contract anyway. They put the 5th-year option on you. They've told you everything you need to know. They could have done a new contract with Bradley Chubb guys at any point during training camp up to this point in the season. I would be stunned if Bradley Chubb still wants to be on this team. Why? Why would he want to be on this team? Don't forget their first overall draft pick was his replacement theoretically in Nick Bonito. I mean, I guess they're two completely different looking and types of players, but you signed Randy Gregory to a big contract. I mean, what is there to indicate the Broncos want this guy?
It's a great question, to be honest. I want Bradley Chubb because I don't trust George Payton with the draft. And so I'm curious to get your opinions on that too, because just what we saw out of this past draft, I'm not like fully sold that he can go out there and get us somebody who's quite as good as Bradley Chubb. But what's your take?
2 drafts ago, he did, though. 2 drafts ago, he was amazing throughout the entire process. So I don't know if it was listening to other people, because I know people stood on the table and Russell Wilson really liked Montrell Washington. I don't care. It was the wrong pick. Like, this is a bad pick. Delarian Turner-Yell, the pick right in front of Tariq Woolen, who's looking like defensive rookie of the year. Like, seriously? So, like, don't listen to other people. I do trust George Payton's eye, and you have to have an eye. And I haven't looked, full disclosure, I haven't looked at next year's pass rushing class, but you can find those type of players if you know who you are. And that's the other problem. Right now, is Jair Evero going to be here next year? I mean, I hope no. As the head coach. But D-Mac, he could be a head coach somewhere else. You know, if you blow out Nathaniel Hackett.
He will either be the head coach of the Broncos or another team. There is zero chance Evero's going to not be a head coach.
So then what kind of defense are you running? You know, who do you get? When you're a team like the Steelers, you know you can get, I'll go old school for you, Rachel, and I'll go CSU Rams. You can get a Joey Porter who's a defensive end and make him an OLB. Clark Hagans was a defensive end at CSU. They stood him up and made him an OLB. They did that with Alex Hightower from Charlotte, who I saw at the Shrine game a few years ago. When you know who you are, you can draft better. When the Broncos are rotating through coaches and systems, it's like, well, know who you are, and then you know what kind of player you're looking for.
True. All right, everyone. Well, we need to bring in Jake Shapiro because, one, we have our weather forecast, which everyone get ready for a good laugh because I know he's looking awfully fine as he's our meteorologist for the day for what is going on in London. I can't wait. So he's got the umbrella, he's got the swim trunks on, and he's got a rain jacket on with, is that some sunscreen? I think some sunscreen hanging out with them. Jake, what's the forecast in London come 2 o'clock, 1:30 for this game?
Yeah, it's 17 degrees in London on Sunday. I have no idea what that means. They're not using freedom units over there. They're not quite as democratic as us. So I'm just prepared for anything. I've got the Broncos hoodie on. If we're ready to take a dip in the St. James River or St. Thames, I don't know. Who cares? If we're ready, I'm ready for that. I'm sure the water is fine and not polluted at all. If it gets sunny out, I've got an umbrella. If it gets rainy out, I've got an umbrella. So we're ready to go, Broncos country. I'll be running through the stadium. Just, you know, this is what you do when you play in Europe. You got to be prepared for anything. And 17 degrees, no idea what that means. So we're prepared for anything.
Aren't you for Celsius to Fahrenheit? Aren't you supposed to like double it and then add 3 or something? I feel like I've heard that somewhere.
You know, 17 degrees to me just sounds cold.
I agree. James was wearing a hoodie when he was out there, so maybe it is a little chilly. It looks kind of cloudy. Jake, appreciate the act. I appreciate you putting on swim trunks, finding an umbrella, a rain jacket, and sunscreen. That's no easy task there, my friend. Yeah, you know, it is no easy task for the mere mortals. But when you're the Denver Broncos and you're 2-5, you're ready to play up to the opponents. You're ready for anything. If you've got to take on the weather indoors, I think is Wembley Stadium's indoors or outdoors, doesn't matter. You're ready to go against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And the Denver Broncos,
they've been ready for everything and anything that can come their direction this year. So, I'm sure no players will be confused when they check their phone's weather app and see 17 degrees. It would be hilarious if they check 17 degrees, which is 63 in freedom units. I actually do know. I'll let you in on the bit. It would be really funny if one of them checks their phones like, oh, it's going to be 17 degrees out there and is all in cold weather gear.
It would be something interesting, but I have a feeling that they probably have a group text for somebody who lets them know what to wear as they head out to the game. For both of you, or I guess for all three of you, I've really just been counting one person out this entire show, it feels like. Russell Wilson is starting come Sunday. This is not a surprise to anybody who was expecting him to sit, I guess. But the question is he actually fully healthy? Is there any possible way, Cecil?
No, he needed 3 weeks of rest. And it's a partially torn hamstring. He's not fully healthy. And we've seen a few highlights of him throwing. Like, you can tell his feet aren't right still. And that'll be a problem come Sunday. He shouldn't play on Sunday, but he's going to because he's Russell Wilson.
Is he playing to save a job, or is he playing to be Superman?
Are these guys playing for Nathaniel Hackett, D-Mac? Do you even think that? Like,
No, that Nathaniel Hackett's got nothing to do with it. He's playing because it's an international affair, and he was always going to be playing in this game. He sat out the Jets game in order to be good enough to play in this game. There's zero chance he was going to miss this England international game. It's a chance for him to grow his brand, and that apparently means more to him than anything. I don't know how much more clear that could be. We get it, all right? We get it, Russ. It's all about the threes and your logoed hat and you doing stuff while other people are sleeping. I mean, I have never seen more of a me guy on a team in my life than Russell Wilson, to the degree that when he does do good things, it's like the boy that cries wolf. It's like, okay, I do see you doing good things. I believe you're a good person. But there always seems to be some sort of ulterior motive to everything else you do. So it's sort of, it discolors the good things. Could Russ just be quiet and play football? I mean, is there a possibility he could just hang out with the guys and not talk about it? Is there any way he could just be quiet and lead by example? Is there a conversation that he could enter where he just sits there and listens to it and doesn't interject his own personality or his own takes? I mean, if anybody ever needed a guy to say, shut up, dude, friend, it's Russell Wilson. He needs a shut up, dude, friend. And I'm amazed that he hasn't hired one of those guys.
Ready? Go. Go. High knees. Go. Get your knees up. There you go. Run. Ready?
Our very own Romy Bean out there in London sending us that video or posting it on Twitter of Russell Wilson helping kids at their Play 60 event today doing high knees. Do you think he purposely did that, or is it just an actual?
Hey, let me tell you real quick. He better make fun of it. He better be okay with it because he is being lambasted all over the world. So if he can't have some fun with it, man, things are going to go to a weird place.
By the way, that kid's faster than Russell Wilson now.
I mean, if you're hurt, yeah, I would believe it. Jake, what's your opinion on Russell Wilson playing? Or actually, not even on playing, just on the fact, like D-Mac said, he's a me man, right? We had this conversation with some reporters in Seattle about how, was it he wanted to win MVP or did he want to win the game?
He clearly wants to improve his brand and win MVP. And if he can win a Super Bowl along the way and improve his team on the way, those are things that he would like to do. But he came to Denver to be more separated from the Seahawks, to prove to Pete Carroll, like Tom Brady proved to Bill Belichick, that I can do this on my own, that I am my own man, that I can be me and be the greatest version of me without you. And we are seeing a comedy of errors from Russell Wilson at every turn. And I don't agree with you. I don't think that he was doing the high knees aware of the bit, because he has shown a lack of comedic timing across every single thing he's done. So I think that he thinks everyone thinks he's so awesome because he was doing high knees and working out on the plane, because he does not have, hey, that shut up dude man in his corner. And that's why I rock with Cecil, because I know Cecil will be my shut up dude man.
Hell yeah, he would. Cecil, what can people expect out of Orange and Blue today at 3:30?
Yeah, Orange and Blue today, more complaining about the Broncos, but is there actual hope for the Broncos in this game against Jacksonville? We'll break it all down with the X's and O's on Orange and Blue today, 3:30 Mountain Time.
3:30, everybody. Thank you so much for rocking with us all week long here on Tea Time. The Broncos play London. You can catch us 7:15 a.m. for me and Cecil for our pregame. We got halftime chill, and then D-Mac and I are rocking it for postgame, so make sure you come hang out with us. Hopefully we're talking about a Broncos win, but is that actually the case? We'll see everybody then on Sunday, and then 10:30 a.m. on Monday morning. Bye, everyone.